Hey YouTube, this is Nashtaters. Welcome back to another episode of World Divisions. So today I would like to talk about where my account is standing right now. I know it's time for that 7-month, almost 8-month show and tell, because given the circumstances, what's been going on, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think normally where I would be right now would definitely perhaps be a little bit different where I should be, or maybe where I am. Get what I'm saying? So I think it's important to kind of go over and assess where your account is every month. This way it allows you to kind of gauge where you should be, perhaps in your own mind, in terms of reaching your own mini goals, and in terms of where you want to be long term. A quick tiny little tidbit of news cleanup. Normally we have a shop in the shop where we get free things in terms of just ability to buy different things. And obviously probably everybody noticed right away we don't have that shop. I mean, we have the shop for the Final Fantasy unit, right? But there's really nothing else here. It's a bit unusual, I think, for the most part, but maybe they forgot, or maybe it's intentional because we're getting so many free items. Either way, it doesn't really make any difference, but that's just something I noticed. Let's begin with my units, and I think that's the best place to start. I set this up according to my URs, MRs, etc, etc. Obviously, my most recent addition was Little Leela. I think she was pretty much the best choice for me in terms of finding the right healer. I'm also seeing the potential of her being just a straight out nasty attacker, and that can just obliterate earth units. And that was kind of the biggest draw I had for her, even though I knew Holly was coming alongside with her. But then again, Holly was kind of a predicted unit, whereas Little Leela definitely was not predicted, right? It was kind of a nice surprise. So I really love Agrias, as many of you guys are figuring out. I think she's a great unit. I love Warrior of Light. And right now, one of the biggest issues I can't get over is the Warrior of Light, Ayaka, and Ayaka combo on Guild War defense. It's just so tanky. They buff each other in terms of spirit, defense, and no matter what combination I throw at them, I can't even make a dent in them. I don't know. I need to go back and figure out how to defeat that team. Rain, as many of you guys know, very, very good unit in terms of taking him everywhere, especially in raids. Orlando obviously is still one of the better units in the game in terms of making life easier for you, right? And I think Ziza definitely is really, really good if you kind of invest in her in terms of enjoying her gameplay. She is pretty much one of the better units in terms of PvE content. She's really, really solid. Like, she can do a lot of different things. Very flexible unit. I think Ramza is falling off more and more for me, given the fact that Agria showed up and really makes Ramza look kind of bad. And given the fact that there's also Marielle who can do tons of damage at an MR quality. Unfortunately, Ramza is one of those kind of like meme units many ways for me now. But I'm still glad I have him because I love Final Fantasy Tactics a lot. Yerma is still very solid, especially with the new vision card that can give defense penetration. I think she will definitely shine quite a bit. And I think I'm going to throw my AI card on her sometimes too, because she's going to be a heavy hitter, and she always will be a heavy hitter. And having the thief ability really makes her very nice for PvE in terms of support as well. Miranda, I'm slowly trying to finish her off. I think she's one of the better units in the game. She's definitely really beefy, not tanky, but beefy. She's very good at support. She's very good at heals, and her AI is actually very, very good. Lucia is always going to be a good unit to take into a lot of PvE content. As you can see, my level 89 Gilgamesh is looking pretty sharp. Actually, how close am I to getting him to? Not too bad, right? Just 160, 180 days, no, 170 something days. But once in a blue moon, you might get lucky and pull 40 shards of him. Super Sexy Stern, definitely worthy of building, especially the fact that I'm skipping Kane. So I think I'm going to have to invest all my resources for the future to build Super Sexy Stern. I think Victoria is getting close. Let's see. It's getting close to a limit break. I need 280 to to get to limit break 4. And I think that's when I kind of start working on her a little bit. I do have the Ice Lance, which is definitely perfect for her. But getting the new Wind Lance or Thunder Lance, whatever it's called, I think it's called Wind Lance. I think I'm still going to farm it, just because you can always use that on other units, especially units like, say, Eileen or something. And maybe, you never know, right? Maybe when Final Fantasy IV comes back, if it ever does, still is a possibility that I can get King in the future. But I don't really, think too much about that anymore. I think Venora is definitely a must build for me because she's very good. Ayaka, I'm dealing with her, and she's being such a headache, and I think I always wanted her as my main supporter. I think that they eventually will build her, obviously. I'm working on her every single day, just getting her shards. You need 240 to get to limit break 3, which I have already reached my goal. So right now I'm kind of just back off a little bit until I finish Miranda. And then of course she's going to be very good, and most likely I'll definitely take her to let's see, level 120 or around that range, depending on what her skills are, I suppose, because I love supporting units, I love tanky units. I think I definitely want to build Oldie eventually in the future. These two, the spear units perhaps. And everybody else, I kind of like iffy, because I know a lot of these units are really great, but who's to say we have enough time to do all that before they make another set of drastic changes for the future. My guess is by year 2 I can have all my URs built, but where does it really end, right? And I think that's why you have to be very selective who you pick. I already missed on Laswell's weapon, so I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to be able to get that in the future. And right now, I'm not really tempted to build Cecil, because I really honestly feel like he's a redundancy of all the light units that I have. So I do still enjoy Mustadio. He actually can be very solid in terms of PvE. Unfortunately, he hasn't really shined too much because the game is designed to know that making a lot of their units in terms of challenges, like especially the challenges going on, they cannot be turned to stone, and you can't really control them in terms of crowd control mechanics. So they know. So a lot of times I feel like status ailment king as he is can be actually quite useless. Celia is actually really solid still. I take her to many of the situations like Porcelain Tower, where she's a solid attacker and a solid healer / supporting unit. Grace is still definitely my current main supporting unit. I think I can make her a lot better than she can be in terms of resistances. But, that's going to take some time, right? And all those vision cards are not cheap, by the way. I mean, I don't mean in cash either, I just mean in resources. Gafgarion is still very good for your slashing chain units, of course, alongside with Shadowlings. Very solid unit for PvE. Definitely one of my favorites in terms of taking her to PvE content. Mon, obviously, we can have the ability to make him pretty solid once we have, level 120. Since Final Fantasy XIV has kind of been delayed, maybe even cancelled, my hopes for Ishtola is pretty much over. But at the same time, I have Rain, so I'm not really worried too much. And then as far as other MR units, I don't really think too much about any of these anymore, because, I have to wait to have those access to those stones in order to maybe get some more units up. But I'm not holding my breath, because given the circumstances that we now have to, take them to 99, then take them to 120, that's just even a longer journey. And most of these units are in fact redundancies of each other, just as the URs are most likely redundancies of each other. Ultimately, this game is not a hero collector. I can't say this enough. It is not a hero collector. But for the majority of us, there is no reason to think about building every single unit in this game. And to be honest, most of these units are not really necessary. They're just there for you to have an option. It's something they really keep in mind as a player, regardless of what your spinning background is. And then of course, we're hearing about all these buffs that are incoming for these lower rarity units. So we'll see what happens when that comes, right? Now, currently I hold one ticket from a long time ago, and my original intention was to get Odin to level 99. But I changed my mind, and since I have another option to get another 1000 shards, that means 200 shards of an older vision card I can get to almost pretty much maxed out right away. I'm leaning towards Trousseau. I don't know if Finir will be in the original first batch, so that leads me to believe that he shouldn't be on my target, even though I know magic resistance is definitely really awesome. Now, obviously, this card's Echoing Scream is not the same as AI card, by the way. just keep in mind they're both really good. And having both max doesn't hurt you in any way. I think I am going to unfortunately wait for Echoing Scream to be the next card. I think my plan really is just keep farming from the guild for Odin and then move over to Shiva and then finally finish Tetrasilphic. That'll be my priority in terms of spending my medals that I'm earning. I think Trousseau is definitely my main target. And because I have a lot of good magic users, so I think I'm definitely happy with Little Lila. But I think Ramu is definitely a consideration because these two are really good in supporting your healer / magic user. So either one will be great, but I know Ramu I'll definitely have a higher chance of building simply through summons over the future. But Trousseau would be a lot harder since it's not one of those things that they offer in terms of, what's the word, showcasing, in terms of summoning banners. I decided I'm gonna go back and finish this card though when it comes back. And that's what I'm gonna be start saving my Visiors for, since I really don't have anything looking forward to. Now I know Bahamut is definitely, oh my god, so tempting, but believe you and me, you're gonna need somewhere around 200k or maybe more to potentially have a chance to get that guy, right? It's very low chance, and there is no guaranteed, but you never know. And that's a topic I'm gonna be talking about tomorrow, the true difference between the JP server and the global server, and why they're making these changes perhaps. My guess is perhaps Bahamut will be a guaranteed card for global, but we may have to space a 20,000 gems. Who knows, right? You never know, because the way that things are going, there seems to be some sort of separation in terms of where global is going. And honestly, I'm okay with it. All right, so MR card, this card is definitely really good, especially if you don't have the, what is it, the crystal card that you can purchase for like $8. It's a free card. Everybody should have this max. No excuses there. I think the red chocobo, in hindsight, maybe wasn't a card that I really needed, but at the same time, it's still really good to have because you can stack it with Ramu and you can stack it with the magician card. This card is still really one of the better cards for us because of the fact that most of us will not be able to build max this card because of the slash resistance. So I think the giant is definitely the card to build in terms of if you're looking for resistances as of now. Obviously, Vow of Love is still considered one of the best cards in the game. And then, of course, I don't need to go too much into details of these other ones. A lot of these cards are really worthy of investing. Just like I said, make sure you look at the cards and see how it affects your squad. It's going to affect a lot of your members, right? If not, then it's probably not really considered. If it's just one card that's sort of very niche, why would you want to dump like, you know, thousands of gems on? It makes no sense. But lower rarity cards are more designed for you to be niche build, right? For example, this one really helped me on the Platinum Rod one. By the way, that Platinum Rod was very challenging because that's a new version of a Platinum Rod map, whereas the old one was super easy. I really actually needed this because Petrify was such a pain, and actually I just maxed it because, you know, I needed it. And I think it's what this game's all about. When the situations call for something, you boom, go for it. In terms of Asper, I do have a little bit more work, but as Cabbage showed us, there's a huge chance that we're going to get everything maxed out to level 80 really fast before the patch hits, in terms of having the ability to increase the star level cap on your Espers to 3 stars, which essentially means you need to make sure your units are up to par in order to conquer and defeat those units and try to get the necessary necessary materials to get them to 3-star cap. Obviously, Odin is by far one of the best right now, and then of course Death Machine is really good. Diablo is definitely the best in terms of magic / healers. Of course, you got Shiva, very good. Now I know Behemoth isn't ranked very high by a lot of players, but I still think he's one of the best beginning players, especially for physical attack and a slash attack. Of course, Golem, very slow, but very good for adding lots and lots of defense. Slash resistance here, but I don't think she's the best card anymore in terms of pure slash resistance. But if you're using a piercing unit, slash resistance desirable is very good, right? This will be very good for units like Glaciala and Lorenzo and units like that, where they're good piercers and could use some slash resistance. And there, of course, is AI, definitely one of my newly acquired ones. And it is really solid. It has different resistances, and you can definitely pair it up with a lot of your units. And of course, the twin-handed dragon is also very good in terms of raw attack power. Fenrir, obviously, magic resistance. All these things are really good, but you know, realistically speaking, I ain't got the ability to really power up everything, right? Max everything. Really not much to think about here. You know, I got some +5s, not too many of them, right? +5, +5s. But I'm still working on like a +5 weapon. I'm working on the +5 lance. And I'm slowly farming ice brands from the shop. By the way, I recommend you do that because that weapon is considered one of the best weapons in the game right now. And then, of course, make sure that you get the stats up. Like right now, my platinum mace is terrible because of the fact that I couldn't roll right. And if I was to spend all my hammers, I still can't get 184. So what I'm going to do is I have to redo it. I have to re-roll. But unfortunately, I don't have a lot of seals. So I'm going to have to wait for the seals. And then, of course, farm more seals. That's going on right now using the book quests. So it is kind of very obnoxious in that sense. But at the same time, it does make you feel a little bit more rewarded if you have a lot of your stuff at max and you're just so happy that you got it. Obviously, the spinners still have the huge advantage because they could just spend more cash to try to get more perfect items. But, you know, I keep emphasizing this. Those people are going to be fighting amongst themselves. You rarely have to deal with them in terms of PvP. In PvE, you're going to be hopefully relying on them in terms of raiding with them and, of course, multiing with them. So there's no reason to complain about that. And I think that's the fine balance of this game. In PvP, you're never going to challenge them. PvP, you don't really have free-to-play have the ability to challenge the whales / krakens or whatever. And I think I'm okay with that because ultimately that's how it should be, right? You're not going to see me trying to outsell some guy who has $1 billion in terms of maybe investing or competition of where it requires a lot of money. It's just unrealistic to think that way. Yeah, some people might say life is unfair, but hey, those people perhaps either earned it or, you know, whatever, however they got their money. So it is what it is, right? And that should be the way it is. Because that's life. If people who cry life is unfair, well, I mean, you're just stating a fact. So I don't have too many +5 armor. It's kind of regretful. I need to work on the golden armor if it comes back. I need to get smart coat +5, which I'm slowly doing. Honestly, I'm not lazy. It's really more or less just the fact that it's tedious, right? As soon as we get the ability to one-click everything, boom, you're gonna see like literally pages of +5 items because I have the recipes, mind you. I have the equipment. I have the recipes. I have the, what do you call it? I have the materials. I just simply don't have the patience to sit here and do this every single day. It can really drive a person up the wall and make a person insane. So right now, I don't obviously gonna do a lot of these to be all finished. I'll work on the second stage hat. You know, I can still probably do a second armor flight when it comes back. Just started doing the shoulders and slowly working on the raid stuff, you know, as I see fit. And that's the way you should be playing it, by the way. And if you're hardcoring it, good for you, you know, great. But if you're not, you know, work at your own pace. Okay, finally, all time out for this video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the continued support. Tomorrow's my stream. Don't forget, I'll be announcing the winner. So you still have time to enter right now. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the final cutoff. So good luck to y'all. Remember, time is your most valuable resource. Spend it wisely. And as always, take care of yourself, all your loved ones. Nashtaters in this account out. Peace.